the injured list? Is that why you weren't there? I mean, it really confused me. It threw me off. Yeah, and it totally threw me off. Is that what it was? I got you. I got you. Well, I'm glad you're back. Okay. So just make sure you ask me about injuries, though. All right. Edgar, that made travel squad. That's good. All right. You ready? Yeah. Okay. How you doing back there? Okay. All right. Well, first off, guys, it's good to be done with the state of Tennessee, and anytime you're able to get a win and on the road, it was great. I thought they played extremely hard and extremely well. I think we had some guys that looked a little bit like they were playing with some undue pressure for some reason. We've got to make sure that we're playing loose, and it's really the first time I think that kind of showed up. Some guys kind of tensed up a little bit, and yet we played hard. We came out ready to play. I know historically that's been a tough place for us to play, and yet we got to figure out how to get that changed, because we'll go back there in a couple years, and we've got to be able to do that. Our guys really did a great job with the noon start. We'll have a similar schedule to what we did, for this week, and plain and simple. Players of the game were our fans. I mean, our guys were like, when we came back into the locker room after warm-ups, they were just like, Coach, you see the whole half of the stadium there was orange and blue. And even our defensive guys, there was a time when they were down in the horseshoe end there on the grass end where, it caused them an issue on a third down, and that was on the road, and that was because of our fans. I just, that was something special. And, we're going to need that same thing this week. Noon tip. I can say tip now because we started basketball practice today, I think. And getting our students to set their alarms, get out of bed, get over to the swamp. I truly believe the swamp's the best place in college football to play a home game. And yet there's some LSU fans, I think, that think their place is. And, this will be great for us to get in front of our fans here and play a really good football team that obviously has been through some change. The one constant is, obviously, defensively, they haven't changed. They've got great players. They recruit great players, year in and year out. They've got explosive playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. When you talk about their defensive ends, we couldn't block 92 last year, let alone 49. And, that guy can change a game. So we've got to make sure we're aware of where they're at all times. Secondary-wise, the way they cover, the way they aggressively play, they've got some real cover guys. And so we've got our work cut out for us, no doubt about it. Their defensive coordinator, he was at Utah State when we were at Colorado State. He's really, really good in what he does. He's sound. Just take a look at their numbers, see what they've done down in the red area. I don't know, 3 touchdowns or something is all they've given up down there, and holding teams under 30% on third down. They're getting off the field. So, when you looked at what they did, new look offense, obviously the guy calling the plays, highly respected in our profession, knows how to use personnel and create different formations, and that showed up. In other words, in some regular and in some silver, making blue and red and some things that way. Likes to play action. When you look at statistically, when it was a game, they were literally 50-50 run pass. They actually threw some RPOs, which they've had in, but I think they called more of them. So that number can be skewed just a little bit there based on those, but obviously something that they believe in and they'll continue to do. So, they put up a ton of points and a ton of yards in an SEC game. And so we've got, a great challenge on defense. And obviously they'll get the running back. That other guy ain't bad either. But, that's the case. We all know what good players they have. And they'll come in with a, juiced up attitude. Coach Ogeron does a great job of that. They'll be excited. They'll be jumping around. They'll play at a high fevered pitch. And we've got to do a good job in all three phases. We can't allow that return guy to get loose either. I thought Johnny did a great job in this last game, punting away, and we did a little bit better in the coverage part of it, but we've got to be on it this week. Injury-wise, we tried to get Sherritt through the week. We're going to go ahead and get him scoped so he won't be able to go. That was a game-time decision. We felt like, depending on how he felt, he wasn't able to do it. So we'll get that cleaned up. He'll be out a little bit. Caleb Brantley's sick, hurt his finger. I don't know whether he'll play. Chris Thompson redid the string again. Brandon Powell, ankle. Brian Cox, who was limited. It means so much to this guy. It'd be hard for me to say that he would be out. He's not going to play as much as he has, but he'll continue to give us everything he has. You can see we made some change-ups on our big package, our monster package, which we used CeCe and Ja'Kai in. We'll continue doing that kind of stuff with those guys as we get them kind of going. Other guys, Alex Anzalone will have a splint on his hand, but he'll play. Sharp, we'll see. He's got a shoulder. We'll see what we can get out of him. If not, we move Tez out there. We got, we've got, Tyler Jordan back, obviously, is what I was thinking, and we can move him over there, keep Fred at right. So we've got some options there, and we'll see what happens as the week goes on. Luke Del Rio, what we'll do is he'll go some today. He'll go more tomorrow and Wednesday. We'll see exactly where and how much that swells, where the pain is, and where the stability is. And so those two guys, he'll get some reps with the ones. Obviously, Austin will, and that'll be something we'll decide later in the week. But this was something I know Luke had been kind of targeting a little bit. So, part of it is his mindset is he's going to play. And that's good. That's what you want. But know this, I won't put him out there like I wouldn't do with Sherritt. Just not going to do it. So, but we'll know more end of the week. As far as guys in this last game, I thought CeCe, playing both inside and outside, with Ivy being down, what he was able to do on the outside as well with, with Sherritt and Cox being down. This guy just brought some energy to the game. And you want to talk about a guy who doesn't play with any pressure. He just goes and plays. He doesn't worry about what people are telling him and what they have to do and all that kind of stuff. He just goes and enjoys playing, and he really affected the game in a positive way. Jared and Tease, I thought, played really good in this last ball game for us, and this should be fun. Been looking forward to this. We had a great game with them a year ago. Gave up some big plays, obviously the fake field goal and play right before half. But we created some explosive plays, and it's going to be fun to see what the Swamp's like. Such a big game coming to town. Questions?
Thomas, you You guys obviously sound pretty banged up defensively. Can you evaluate how your run defense was Saturday, and then kind of going into this game,
No,
the
I
challenges?
thought they took advantage of it, and yet, they've done that against a lot of people. Ralph Webb, that guy's really a good player, and I felt they did a great job up front, especially on the defensive front, taking advantage of us. But here's the one thing: they got 6 points, and we contained it. You know what I'm getting? The thing that we were disappointed with is their starting field position. We had them pinned down pretty good, but we let them out. Some big runs. These guys are spreading it out a little bit more, trying to throw it and do that kind of stuff, which is fine, but it's still, at the end of the day, you got to stop the run to be successful. They've got a rested Fournette who, as good as there is, and obviously he's going to be hungry because he saw what the other guy did, right? So there'll be a little competition there, I think.
And then where's the depth at linebacker at right now?
As far as?
Well, you guys went nickel mostly in the second half. Was that an injury thing? I know Kylan went out at one point.
No, Kylan's fine.
Okay.
We're fine. David's fine. Yeah, no, there's anything. D-Mac's back, so.
Jim, you just talk about the fact that obviously in the North Texas game you were upset with the low hit, and then in this game there was a low hit that knocked out their quarterback. And after looking at film, was that something that?
He was pushed into him. I know Derek was concerned, and we talked about it after the game. I mean, it was something obviously Carl would never do intentionally. So.
Matt, over here to the right. You mentioned. Sure. Okay. There we go. Technical difficulties. So you mentioned the.
Can you help him with that, Edgar?
He's not even paying attention.
Oh, he's not even focused right now? Well, that's because he's got his assistant doing all the work here. Okay.
All right. So in serious news, so you mentioned all the coaching changes with LSU. How do you prepare for something like that? How much do you look at the first 4 games? How much do you go back to Ed Orgeron at USC and so on?
Well, I think the big thing is it starts, Aranda on defense. I mean, they aren't, and I guess they brought Pete in, Jenkins, who's the best defensive line coach, like they needed it, right? He's the best defensive line coach in America. So I think that part, and Steve, their offensive coordinator, I mean, his background with Tubbs when he was at Auburn, places he's been, I mean, it isn't all just, getting the eye and pro slot, and I mean, he's got a background in it. So what you do is you go back to those things, and yet, in a short period of time, here's what happens. So they work on things even to help their defense. They've had RPOs, they just haven't called them. Well, they run them when they go goods on goods, just like they spread them out when they go goods on goods. So it's not like they haven't had that in their package. Does that make sense? And you just got to be sound with your formational checks and realize this quarterback's playing pretty confident right now. We got to just make sure he can't, when he does throw it, we hopefully, get him to where he doesn't set his feet. That's really the big thing. I know he's a play action guy, and again, personnel group guy. So don't just look at the personnel group and think you're getting that type of formation. That's really the big thing from a background standpoint.
Going into the season, you said you expected the offense to be dramatically better.
Uh-huh.
5 games in, can you just give me an assessment? Are you disappointed where it's at?
Nah, I'm
encouraged
not
at all?
I think we've done some good things. I think consistency and sense of urgency. I keep going back to that. I think sometimes guys put undue pressures on themselves. And I think part of those pressures actually comes externally, which is noise. Dad, mom, auntie, uncle, street agent, you've got to go do this because you're going to be the lifeblood of our family, right? And these guys are 18 to 22-year-old guys, and sometimes they let that affect their joy and energy to where you start to ball up a little bit. And I'm seeing that. And, you know, I will say this, our effort is 100% better, okay? Now, consistency in performance is nowhere where it needs to be. And yet we've got pretty decent play out of the quarterback. You know, we got some young receivers that are starting to show up a little bit. So we do need to create more explosive runs, though, plain and simple. And, you know, that starts with puncturing the defense a little bit. Instead of lateral steps, we need to be going forward, you know, some things like that, and play with better pad level. So
You challenged the O-line earlier in the year and got a nice response from him. Can you do the same?
yeah, and I don't know. We won't. I mean, Sharp might not go. I mean, who knows? But that's fine. Whoever does go is going to go, and they're going to do everything they can to help the Gators take the pressure off and just go play. Just have a good time, you know. I mean, it's unbelievable. And what these guys live with now, if you only knew some of the things that are, you know, we just get so consumed with this football piece, right? And there's a lot of things going on with these guys. And you know what? That's my responsibility to help them ease that and get them to play at a high level.
Coach, how did the young defensive lineman play that got in the other day, and how important is it to get them kind of up to speed,
Yeah,
given the injury situation?
You know, I thought Ja'Kai did a pretty good job. Antonius got in there, flew around a little bit, caused some havoc, and that was good to see. And you know, more reps for some other guys as well. I thought, you know, Kavanis played very consistent. You know, nothing splashy, but pretty consistent. We need to get a little more suddenness out of that. But, you know, overall, they a bunch of them played, and they're going to have to as we go down the stretch here.
Jim, how much will Tez work out at tackle this week, and could that be a spot where he might gain some confidence?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. You know, I mean, like I said, time will tell on that spot, but that's obviously the answer on that, you know, should something happen there. So.
And then I know I asked you about Scarlett after the game. You were pretty upset about that touchdown, but going back and having a chance to evaluate the film, just how do you feel about it?
No, I mean, he played hard. He ran hard. This guy, one thing he's done is he's played with really good pad level, and he's kept his feet moving. He's been hard to tackle. He's made after contact runs, which is really good. You know, decision-wise down there, we probably went to the well one too many times. Was on a fastball. He follows the guard, he scores. And then tried to make something out of nothing and went backwards. And then, you know what, you got to win the goal line, right? So these aren't things that I haven't talked to him about. It's just the way it is. And yet the expectation is you got to be good on every down, not just bits and pieces.
And could his play potentially change the distribution of carries just by how well he's doing?
You know, he's proven that he's been able to do it. I mean, he's made explosive runs, and that's a good thing.
When you arrived here, what was kind of your estimate in your head and goal for the offense in terms of getting it rolling to the point you want it? I mean,
Well,
do you think
I guess, you
right?
know, I mean, am I excited about where it is? No. Time frame wise, you know, we got to get better play at some positions. And we got to get more energy out of those positions. And yet that's my responsibility. And did I put a time frame on it? No. Do I have a crystal ball? No. Did we do with what we had based on our team as far as some ball control and playing long field to give us an opportunity to win ball games? I think we did. I mean, that's part of coaching, you know what you have and keep pushing to get what you want. And yet, you know what, we've done a pretty good job playing team football.
Because that I was kind of going to ask with some of the speed bumps, quarterback, young offensive line. I mean,
Yeah, but
are
it's
those
not,
the
you
two
know
main
what,
ones
this
you
whole
think?
young offensive line thing, I'm over that. These guys have played enough. I mean, I'm not one of these coaches going to sit up here and pull the youth card, you know. I mean, they played enough.
Coach Jabari Zuniga picked up another sack this weekend. He's up to 5
Yeah.
on the year. What does he do well, and what does he still need to improve on at
You
this
know,
point?
he's got a great first step, number one, and he does a great job. He can really bend. He can get around the corner. And coupled that with he's kind of growing into an actual man, you know. He's getting bigger. He's going to be a lot bigger. But it's really important to him. And he goes out and plays it and has fun doing it. And that's great to see.
Going back to the running backs, how much of the distribution is determined before the game, and how much is
You
flexible?
know, we
during
go
the game?
through the first half. We've got touches for each one of them. And then we kind of see how it flows from there. And they're doing a good job.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, there you are.
Yep, back here.
You're kind of hiding in there today. There we go.
It's
All right.
more cameras today, so I gotta like duck behind. But so yeah, if Luke can't go on Saturday, is Austin still the guy? Is there a chance?
Yeah,
we can
Austin's
see
a guy, and he's got to take those reps again this week. And he's done a good job. And you always want to have a couple throws back. You know, I bet you if you ask a quarterback in the NFL today, based on yesterday, there's a couple guys that might want to throw or two back, right? And but that's part of it, and that's part of playing the position. And you know what? He'll continue to go. All right, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks.